From the fallout of his handling of international relations to bold shifts in how the U.S. deals with domestic issues like healthcare, taxes, and education, Trump has made headlines for a lot of reasons. Whether it's a renewed focus on China, sanctions on Russia, or attempts to reshape government regulations at home, his policies are shaping the current political landscape. Hello, and welcome to Tenor. Today, we're diving into some of the biggest developments in Donald Trump's policies, both domestic and foreign. There's been a lot happening recently, and we've got everything from high-stakes diplomacy to his controversial domestic changes. If you're into politics, you won't want to miss this. Number 10. New relations with China. Trump has recently ramped up his policy on China, targeting their trade practices and imposing heavy tariffs. This is an ongoing part of his America First agenda, where he's seeking to pressure China on issues like intellectual property theft, trade imbalances, and human rights violations. The trade war has caused friction in global markets, but Trump's administration argues it's necessary for leveling the playing field. The US and China have agreed to a Phase 1 trade deal, though tensions still remain over technology, intellectual property, and the future of trade. Number 9. Sanctions on Russia. In response to Russia's continued interference in US politics and its involvement in the poisoning of opposition leader Navalny, Trump's administration has imposed new sanctions targeting Russian individuals, businesses, and officials. These sanctions include travel bans and asset freezes. While critics argue that the measures don't go far enough to confront Russia's aggressive behavior, proponents believe these actions serve as a strong rebuke against Russian violations of international law and human rights. Number 8. Rebuilding NATO alliances. Although Trump has long criticized NATO for his lack of burden sharing, his administration has recently shifted gears and called on European allies to increase defense spending to 2% of GDP, as required by NATO guidelines. While many European leaders resisted at first, this new stance has led to more commitments from countries like Germany, the UK, and Poland to bolster military spending. Trump's focus is largely on ensuring NATO remains strong against rising threats, especially from Russia. This policy aims to strengthen NATO while also pressing European countries to contribute more. Number 7. New trade deals with the UK. Following Brexit, Trump has pushed for a new trade agreement with the UK, aiming to make post-EU Britain a key trade partner for the US. The two nations have discussed agreements that would reduce tariffs, especially on agricultural goods, and allow more free-flowing trade. While this move is seen as an opportunity for both economies to grow, critics argue that it could prioritize corporate interest over the needs of average citizens, especially in areas like healthcare and environmental protections. Number 6. Middle East peace negotiations. Trump has made significant strides in Middle Eastern diplomacy by helping broker peace agreements between Israel and multiple Arab nations, including the UAE, Bahrain, and Sudan. The Abraham Accords, as they're called, have led to the normalization of relations between Israel and these countries. While this is hailed as an historic achievement, many question whether these agreements will lead to long-term peace, given the unresolved Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Additionally, opponents argue that the Accords sideline Palestinian interest in favor of pragmatic, short-term political goals. Now we're moving on to domestic policies. Number 5. Healthcare reform push. Trump's administration has pushed for the repeal and replacement of the Affordable Health Care Act, hoping to replace it with a more market-driven healthcare system that offers lower premiums. While this policy aims to reduce federal spending and provide consumers with more choice, opponents argue that it could strip millions of Americans of their health insurance and worsen healthcare outcomes, especially for vulnerable populations. The GOP's plan to replace Obamacare has faced hurdles in Congress, and the future of U.S. healthcare remains uncertain. Number 4. Tax cuts for corporations. Trump's tax cuts passed in 2017 have been one of his signature domestic achievements. These tax cuts primarily benefit corporations and the wealthiest Americans, reducing the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. While proponents argue that it stimulates economic growth and job creation, critics say that it disproportionately benefits the wealthy, exacerbates income inequality, and adds to the national debt. The long-term effects of these tax cuts are still being debated, with some experts predicting that it will only lead to greater deficits. Number 3. Student loan forgiveness reforms. Trump has recently pushed to reform the student loan forgiveness program, which was initially designed to cancel the remaining debt for borrowers who work in public service jobs for 10 years. His administration has sought to simplify the process, but many argue that the reforms could make it harder for borrowers to qualify for relief. Critics contend that fewer people will benefit from this program, leaving many students burdened with growing debt for longer periods of time. Number 2. Federal employee resignations. Trump's administration has proposed financial incentives to encourage federal employees to resign or retire early, aiming to cut down on government size and reduce federal spending. The idea is to streamline operations, remove bureaucratic inefficiencies, and to save money. While some see it as a cost-saving measure, others are concerned it could lead to a loss of experienced workers in critical areas like healthcare and law enforcement, impacting government functions. And finally, at number 1, we have immigration crackdown. Trump's America First immigration policy has included measures to tighten border security, such as expanding the border wall and enforcing stricter regulations for asylum seekers. His administration has also reduced refugee admissions and made it more difficult for immigrants to gain citizenship. While his supporters argue that these policies are necessary for national security and job protection, critics say that they unfairly target immigration communities and violate human rights, especially when it comes to family separations at the border. Now let's break down the pros and cons of these policies. Pros: stronger foreign policy stances. Trump's policies on China, Russia, and the Middle East have strengthened the United States' position in global affairs. Economic growth. Tax cuts and deregulation have encouraged business, investment, and job creation. Immigration enforcement. Stricter border control policies have reduced illegal immigration and prioritized national security. NATO commitments. Pushed European allies to contribute more to defense, strengthening NATO's overall capabilities. Trade deals. Negotiated new trade agreements, particularly with China and the UK, that could benefit American industries. And now with the cons. Economic inequality. Corporate tax cuts disproportionately benefit the wealthy, increasing income inequality. Healthcare uncertainty. Repealing Obamacare without a strong replacement plan could leave millions without healthcare. Diplomatic tensions. Aggressive foreign policies may strain relationships with key allies. Immigration policies backlash. Policies like family separations at the border have widespread criticism. And finally, government job losses. Encouraging federal employee resignations could weaken critical government services. So whether it's reshaping global diplomacy or shaking up domestic policies, Trump's actions continue to stir up both praise and controversy. What do you think about these moves? Are they making America stronger, or is the country headed in the wrong direction? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more updates on the latest politics. Thanks for watching Tenor. I'll see you next time.